So as per last week's tweet, Bungie stated that the GM Conqueror Seal node will be available as of next reset, as in tomorrow. So I figured that I would go over some of the hardest Grandmasters to solo, from easiest to hardest. Not to say that all of these are rock hard. I'm not saying that. I'm giving you a ranking from 1 to 9, easiest to hardest, or hardest to easiest, onto solo them. This is not fire team perspective. This is solo soldier perspective. But just a warning for you before I go into this. There was a major bug last season that stopped people from gilding their Conqueror Seals, and the Conqueror Seal disappeared like magic. It disappeared because you know what it was? The game is built ground up to be a 6 GM season. They changed it from a 6 GM season to a 9 GM season. So when you got to a 6 GM and you handed in that baby triumph thinking, you've still got another 3, the Conqueror node would disappear or whatever. Right? That stopped people from gilding their sales because they still have 3 GMs to do, and the weekly feature had passed those GMs likely or whatever. I don't know if that's still a problem this season. I don't know. I don't know if Bungie has come out and said about the 9 versus 6 GMs thing, if that's fixed. What I would say to you is this. Don't hand in the triumph. It's simple. I had no problems last season. I didn't complain to anyone saying I can't gild my Conqueror. Don't hand in the triumphs. Because when you get to 6, I don't know what will happen. You might lose your node. I don't know. Just don't hand them in till you get to 9. When you get to 9, okay, hand them in. Don't hand them in. You're not a kid. If you claim it right now, you're not getting triumph score. So don't worry about it, triumph score people. You're not getting any points anyways. Look, there's no points for it. So don't worry about claiming them. They're shining. I know they're shiny, but don't worry about it. Just let them tick over like that. I know it's going against your anxiety levels because it's shiny and you need to click X. Just hold up. Get your 9 GMs and then you can click them. So that's just a PSA about that. A disclaimer before I go into the easiest to hardest rankings of these GMs. We now have unique modifiers in GMs like Void Hunger. Now, I don't know what next week's is going to be. If anyone out there has looked into the API of the new rotation of GM modifiers, then link it down below or tell us. Somebody out there maybe have looked into the API and they've got a crystal ball and they can tell us all these brand new mods we're getting. Tell me. I don't know. But I'm just going to do my rankings based at face value each one, not considering like Void Hunger mods. Because Void Hunger makes GMs easier. Believe it. Void Hunger makes GMs easier probably than Master Nightfalls. It actually makes them Legend Nightfalls. And that's bad to say. But Void Hunger's it's been a fun week on GMs. A lot of people have enjoyed GMs. Just look at all the people who do solo GMs. They've all enjoyed it. They've all said the same thing, each one. You can build into certain different aspects of metas. So it's good in one sense, but in another sense for challenge difficulty, it's nerfed GMs. The Void Hunger is nerfing GMs. But let's just not think about that too much. So out of the 9, right? Well, we're going to do it 1 to 8 because Inverted Spy is its own special category. So if you hadn't seen the video, last week I made a video saying about Inverted Spy is going to be a really good GM now because they've done massive rework changes to Inverted Spire. Now, I've done the background detective work. I have an idea of where champs are going to be and stuff like that because remember, an orange bar, Minotaur, right? They transform Super Saiyan 4, right, to an overload when GMs come out. That's what happens. That's how they model GMs. I was there with them. You saw that's what they do. Orange bars transform into overloads. That's what they do with them. So, for example, there is an orange bar Minotaur at the play 3 of the final boss. He will be an overload on GM difficulty. There are 4 hobgoblins. They generally transform hobgoblins to barrier champions. Now, will there be 4 barrier champs on play 2 of final boss? I would hope so. I would hope there's 2 to 4. That would really spice things up if there was 4 barriers on plate 2 whilst the boss does fire damage. That would be good, that. 2 to 4, maybe 2 barriers and 2 hobgoblins. I think that would be really cool. But like I say, that's what I've done. I've done some background work. So Inverted Spire, I'm not sure on how hard or how easy it's going to be now with the changes. If I was to guess, I reckon it's probably a 7 or 8 out of 10 solo because the boss isn't that much of a problem. You can still easily control that boss in Inverted Spire. It's not about the boss fight anymore. It's about getting to the boss fight with Inverted Spire. That's what's going to be the challenge because the battleground section with the tanks and the freshers. By the way, the freshers keep spawning over and over and over. They keep spawning in, and they're a problem. Once your tank is destroyed, what do you do after that? There's all these sort of mini questions. So I don't know about Inverted Spire. So number 8, because we're doing 1 to 8, because I don't know about Inverted Spire. I can't rank it. But number 8, I believe the easiest GM to solo out of the 8 is Heist Battleground Moon, the most boringest GMs I played. I'm sick of it coming and appearing in the in the seasonal rotation. I'm sick of it. We've had it. If somebody wants to track how many times we've had it, let me know down below. But I feel as though we've had this back to back all the time. We keep getting. I don't have a problem with battlegrounds as much as I used to. You know that I used to have a personal problem with battleground GMs. I don't as much these days. Because I like the Europa one, for example. The Europa one, I've got stocks in it, I've got shares in it. I love the Europa Battleground one. You know why? Because it's not really, it doesn't feel like a battleground. It actually feels like a strike, does that one? Like the aesthetics of Europa inside are amazing with the flying carts and stuff. Like it's good. I like it. It's very sci-fi. Whereas the Moon one, like there's a lot of exploits that does make it significantly easier. But even if you don't use the exploits, you're pretty safe in it. The first section you're safe. It's all from a range. Polaris Lance melting in there, and it will still, even though there's no solar mods properly, it will melt because there's that barrier scout. The Ghost Hack is the hardest part in there, but again, there's an exploit for that, which I still recommend using, and it will not be patched. All the cheeses with Battleground Moon will not be patched tomorrow unless unless Bungie watches this video right now and gets to work and like, right, we've got 16 hours left, lads. This guy's saying Battleground Moon's easy. Let's get those patches done before next reset. They haven't got enough go in them to do that though, have they? That's why I'm dead relaxed about Battleground Moon. I know there's exploits. I probably will use them, might not use them. We'll see what we're like. But anyways, it's the easiest out of them. Honestly, the battery phase might be quite difficult for people, but other than that, Battleground Moon is very boring. On to the next one. Number 7, Behemoth. Now, a couple of people have mentioned to me about Behemoth and they're worried that Behemoth's going to be difficult to them. Listen, Behemoth is not going to be difficult to you. Look at the base strike. It will tell you a lot of the information that you need to know. Battleground Behemoth is the Nessus baby strike. It's Proven Grounds light. It's the light version of Proving Grounds. So literally, let's think about what Behemoth is. You load in, there's 2 or 3 freshers, and there are ads fighting each other. Or it's the Cabal. I think it's just Cabal enemies or whatever. I think there's some Vex. Yeah, there's Vex versus Cabal at the start, right? Okay, we need a bar. We need a 0 to 100. You just kill enemies. You pick up keys. You dunk the keys. That's that bit done. You sparrow, and then you dunk. Then you throw batteries at a open world map that spawn from barrier champs and stuff. Easy. You just press R2 to throw the battery at the generator. You explode 3 generators. You then go to a flag. You go and meet your mate Eric on the hill. He's the boss, by the way, and you can melt him with long range stuff like Wish Ender, Outbreak Perfected, any long range weapon you want. It's a hill. Behemoth is a baby battleground hill GM. It is the hill GM. Don't worry about Behemoth. It's going to be one of the easiest GMs in the game. I haven't played it, but I know it will be because of the design of it. Unless they do something silly and put 6 tormentors in there. If they put 6 tormentors in there, okay, you've upped the difficulty. But still, even if they put 6 tormentors there, you can sit back with a scout rifle, and that's no problem to do that either, because there's none of its small rooms, and that changes it. So, next one I would say number 6 is Proven Grounds. We've just had that this week. So Proven Grounds, even though Void Hunger was on, and it did make it easier. It still isn't too bad. With the meta that we are in, if you still haven't soloed your Proven Grounds, because we've got Anarchy, Witherhoard, Area Denial, GLs, you can sit back. The double tank room is no longer notoriously difficult like it used to be. The final boss isn't too bad. Everything can be controlled in Proven Grounds. It's not too much of a bother to survive in Proven Grounds. It really isn't. So I'm putting Proven Grounds at number 6. So it's one of the easier ones to do. So if you haven't sold your Proven Grounds and you're struggling with that, then I think God help you with the rest of them then, because it's one of the easier ones, in my opinion. Number 5 is Corrupted. So Corrupted has been nerfed over the years. Cydia's feet have been nerfed over the years. She's now no longer got a foot, has she? She's been nerfed that much. Basically, now she's up to her knee with the amount of nerfs that Corrupted has had. We as Guardians have been majorly buffed and Corrupted over the years. If we run the clock back a few years and we remember when Corrupted first came out, Esoteric was the first guy to solo this, and I believe it took him up to 24 hours. I think. I don't know 20. I'm not saying 24 hours of playtime, but I'm saying it took him that long. It was from a Tuesday reset, of course, to the next day to do it, because it was that difficult. Corrupted was. That was based on the old resilience. By the way, fair play to him. He got the world's first solo on it, but I'm just giving you a history on it because it's actually part of the story. Anyways, after so long, they started to nerf bits and pieces of Cydia's islands at the boss fight, where you could start to fight at the back of the map, where we never used to be able to do that because there'd be a no turn back zone. They took the no turn back zone away from you. Boom. Made Corrupted so much easier to solo when they'd done that. And it was probably a good change overall for consistency, because it was a little dumb that you could only fight on that mid island, mid left and right, but then you could fight at the back of the map. It gave you a base of operations. So we Corrupted nowadays. There's no the two critical phases are this. The elevator phase is a critical phase because the guy with the purple orbs keeps firing at you, but again, you can survive that. I'm just telling you the most difficult parts of Corrupted. And the final bit is also can be difficult with the two solar captains that spawn up while Cydia chases you. When that happens, that phase in particular can be difficult if you've not got a super or you haven't got a way of dealing with them, or your loadout doesn't suit that. So, but again, Corrupted is probably average difficulty nowadays. I wouldn't say it's easy. Like I'm talking about, not for me, I'm talking about the general population of Destiny 2 players. I think it's an average. It's middle of the road GM. You can do versatility loadouts in Corrupted and still get away with stuff. Number 4, I believe to be Arms Dealer. Arms Dealer went through a massive rework, and when they included the freshers are a menace in Arms Dealer. And you need to be really on top of freshers when they spawn up and when they do at the final boss fight. Everything up into the final boss is not a problem to solo. It's when you're up against the freshers when they spawn in at critical phases. I would have to remind myself on all the spawns, but I think it's between phase 2 and 3 is where like it's a bit dicey for freshers. You just need to know where to stand and stuff. Once you've mastered Arms Dealer, the new version of it, then Arms Dealer again is probably middle of the road or maybe slightly above, because the boss does melt you on phase 3. Turrets spawn up as well. That phase is actually quite a nutty. There's 6 or 7, 8 turrets. I think it's 2, 4 left, 4 right turrets, and they spawn up when the boss is below 20% HP, I believe. That phase can melt you when you wouldn't realize it, because he goes in enrage mode. He takes off the sniper and then he uses Acreus. I believe that's what he uses. He actually uses a shotgun, like an arc shotgun thing. So I'm still, at that end bit is critical, but overall it's average or slightly above. Okay, number 3, I believe to be the hardest, third hardest, is Birthplace of the Vile. Birthplace of the Vile, again, if we think about the first phase, you've got to cap that plate. Now, if you overcommit and try to cap the plate in one go, right, the first plate, after you get inside the building, you can die there to Void Nades. Void Nades are your biggest threat in Birthplace of the Vile. Void Nades, Void Snipers, because Void Threat will most likely be on. Right now, the snipers used to be bugged. The raiders, not the raiders, but the snipers, whatever they're called, the Scorn Void snipers, because they do 2 bolts It's not one shot like an arc fallen enemy, it's 2 bolts. And it can do more damage to you than intended sometimes, and I believe that's not fixed. I believe that's still the same way. But I would have to go and test that to see if that is exactly the case. But we know that the Void Scorn snipers have always been threatening and dangerous. All the way back to the days of Hallowed Lair. They were a menace then, and they still can be. So there's that, and then there's the free plates to cap later on. That can be a phase where you can wipe, but you just need a good ad clear setup on for birthplace. Birthplace is no problem. To get to the boss, final boss, it's no problem. The final boss is where problems will appear for people. You need to be on your ad clear best. You need to wear your best ad clear suit. Okay? You need to wear your Sunday best for your ad clear, right? Because I believe it's 6 to 7 waves of enemies per phase. So if it's 7, let's say it's 7, I don't know if it is. There's 3 phases, so that's 21 waves of ads you're going to get. It's probably between 21 to 25, something like that. That's a lot of waves of enemies. And there's champs that spawn at the final boss. Of course, we know this. There's overloads and unstops. And if there's a tether point put up where the overload is, right, and you try and do damage, he's immune. So you need to have a strat for it. So birthplace is, I would say, above average, difficult to solo because of how the final boss fight works. You're in a small space room. There is like a lot of void nears, there's a lot of ads coming at you, so you need a good ad clear, but we are in a favourable meta for Birthplace of the Val. So I don't believe it being super hard. I think it's, if I was to rate it out of 10, probably like a 7 out of 10 or something. 7 to 8, 7 to 8, something like that. So number 2, I would put as the second most difficult solo to do this season is Lightblade. We had Lightblade obviously the first week, and I went over the rotations of barrier champs at the final room. That's critical. You can die very easily in Lightblade if you don't know what you're doing, but Lightblade, I think, has stood the test of time pretty well. It's not as difficult. I was in solo jail with Lightblade, solo GM jail for Lightblade when it first released. So I know what it's like to not get clears after so many runs, over and over and over. That was on its over rotation. Things aren't as tough as then. But if I was to rate Lightblade, I would call it an 8.5 out of 10, let's say, right? But that's being gone. If you haven't done your Lightblade, I assume that you've probably done your Lightblade already. So if you have, you've got the second toughest solo out of the way, which you should feel good about that. So the hardest solo GM to do, in my opinion, is Liminality, right? Just because of how it's set up. With the damn lava, the orb dunks, if you get the orb dunk wrong, then you'll wipe. The final boss, the final phase, not the first phase and not the second, but the third phase, where the Tormentor enrages the final boss. Once he keeps going around the map, because of Void Threat, he does 3 Void attacks. Right now, if those 3 Void attacks hit you, you're a wipe. If every single arc of Void hits you, you're dead. So your movement's got to be right on point. That final phase is crazy, and I think it's really unbalanced. Just like, you don't get time to do DPS to him. You just like do damage, run, do damage, run. There are means and ways of getting around that, like Witherhoard, Dragon's Breath, stuff like this, Anarchy, obviously this season. So, Luminality might be easier this season as opposed to what it was the previous time, but I still think it's the hardest solo GM in the game. And I think we can all agree with that it is. Just because of it's a Tormentor boss. He can suppress you at a moment's notice, kill you very easily, and the Orb Dunks are a little bit unfair as well. But anyways, that is what it is. That's what I believe to be easiest to hardest. We will see how the modifiers are influenced on all the selector nodes tomorrow. But that was the video on that. Hope you enjoy. Thank you.